That picture is like my all-time favorite picture. Like that is like if I could just put everything into like one image, that would pretty much be it.
And so I think that picture perfectly describes us because he's that like big, goofy energy. So he always was that like role model for me. So if he was sitting at the table, I was sitting at the table. If he didn't have his shirt on, I didn't have my shirt on.
Vanessa has kind of always been like that light in the family. And I think as she's gotten older, that light has gotten a lot brighter. And looking at her today and then looking at those pictures, like the same qualities are in her. They've just been magnified. But that's like when we were like this, like we were inseparable. When we talk about like us being so close and us being like just kind of each other's support system before we even knew what was going to happen, those were those times. Kind of like the calm before the storm. I just feel like there was different stages of our family struggles.
We didn't have food in the cabinets. There were maggots on the ceiling, and we were just happy. But my mom was suffering from a bipolar disorder.
And then there was a lot of actual real domestic violence in that point.
I think just like the numerous reports led to CPS determining that we weren't safe on a day-to-day basis. So it was a normal school day, and I was in 3rd grade at the time, and Miss Wright sent me to the office. And I see Christopher sitting on the couch and 2 women with clipboards and the principal sitting behind the desk. The 2 social workers introduced themselves to us and pretty much said, Christopher and Vanessa, it's no longer safe for you to be at your home. And we pull up to a foster home, a pink house. And I remember Christopher at that point was frustrated and mad. He was like, well, I'm not going inside that pink house. And, me being a little confused still, I follow the social worker inside and we go into that house.
They had initially planned for us to be placed together, but I didn't want to be in a foster home. In the moment, I didn't know, but I had put my walls up just so extremely high because I don't think I was ready to necessarily deal with the emotional baggage that I had to carry along from all the things I was going through.
And so they sit me down at the table. And when I get to the counter, they're like, oh, Christopher is going to go somewhere else. And so that day, I felt like I lost my mom and my home and my toys. But the most important person that I lost was Christopher. I think that was like the most traumatic part of being in the system. Because it was like the rug was literally ripped from under me.
It's difficult just hearing her talk about that kind of things. And then thinking like, she was just like alone with like some other person just taking care of her, and she probably felt like nobody was there for her or anything. I remember when I was first introduced to the idea of a CASA, I was 13 and I just got placed in my first group home.
It became very important to me from the get-go to say, okay, I need to learn about these 2 people as individuals and sometimes meet with them separately to address their very different needs. But also, it's critically important that there be time for them together.
When she had first introduced herself to me, I was very short with her, and I just didn't want to be open to the idea that someone was going to be there for me, and then all of a sudden they were just going to be gone.
I think one of my earliest visits together was at IHOP, and there's a picture of them, and I think Christopher's holding a phone or something, and Vanessa's looking over his shoulder, and I would just watch them as they talked and they laughed.
Laura would tell us when she was coming to pick us up earlier in the week. So then I would get through that week just waiting for that day where we would go out to eat. And then we'd get to IHOP or BJ's and we'd go get food. And Laura would just step back and Christopher and I would just laugh.
The one thing I really appreciated with her is that she took the time to let me bring my walls down and kind of open myself up to the idea of her being there for me. Once we had gotten past that stage, that's when I really started to see that she actually cared.
For Christopher, I dealt a lot with his school counselor to try and chart a path that would get him to high school graduation.
There was probably not a time when she wasn't asking me about how I was doing in school and what she could be doing to help.
So Vanessa tested into the GATE program, but the school system she was in didn't have resources for that.
I was not excited to think about going to a new school or anything like that, but Laura pushed on, and she picked me up one day for the orientation.
And within 30 minutes, she said, "This is where I'm going to school."
So I applied to colleges during senior year, and Laura was part of that process, making sure I filled out applications, asking me about majors, and just reminding me to keep thinking about college. When I got into UCLA, it felt like all my work had paid off. Right now, my major is sociology with a minor in entrepreneurship.
There's just so much that she's like been able to accomplish in such a small amount of time. If I could say one thing, I'm proud of who she chose to grow into. I'm proud of the woman that she's choosing to grow into. I'm going to school to be a film director, and my major in film production.
So I'm proud of the journey that he's gone through to be able to find himself and to be comfortable in his own skin, to take off all those labels that have been put on him for his life as a foster kid, as a Black man, just taking all of that off and just being Christopher and being the big brother that I've always known him to be.
They are a huge part of my life. I remember, I think it was Christopher's 18th birthday, and I remember, Vanessa saying, you'll always be a part of our life. You're not allowed to leave. You're going to be at my wedding. And I said, absolutely, I'm going to be at your wedding. You're going to invite me or I'm going to crash it. I don't know if they feel the same way, but I just feel like I've gone through so much with them, the successes, the heartbreak, the accomplishments, the different graduations. Yeah, how does that not change you?